Thank you everyone, and thank you to Jenny, and in particular thanks to Joe Halen for being here today. I'm a resident of Haberfield. I first moved into Haberfield in 1969, and I've been in my current house for the last 20 years. WestConnex at the Wattle Street interchange, if you're familiar with any of the routes through Haberfield, is literally scraping my back fence. So if you can imagine the stretch of Wattle Street from Parramatta Road to Ramsay Street, it's a 400 metre long stretch, and as a speaker earlier today said, 80 metre wide scar through the centre of Haberfield. I'm here to talk about my experience in this session, which is around governance, and my complete utter despair, frustration, not enough adjectives to describe the things I've been put through and the way the government, SMC, have behaved. I became aware of WestConnex in 2012, late 2012, and every couple of months when another green glossy brochure and a community information session was made available, I was there to find out. Throughout the whole process, no detail. And we were in a fairly impacted area in Walker Avenue, even back then with the draft plans. So fast forward to June last year, when the plans came out, the detailed plans, 4 portals within 20 metres, exhaust stack 200 metres away, 12 lanes of traffic over the fence. Needless to say, I submitted a fairly detailed submission, every impact that you could imagine my property and others in Walker Avenue suffered from. 95 pages was my personal individual submission, not as a group but as an individual. I read the stack. If you saw the printed stack of the EIS, I read about 4,000 of those 5,000 pages. If I could just be allowed an extra 30 seconds, please. This is, I think, represents a lot of people, current or future, for the sections that it is coming to. Needless to say, my submission was completely and utterly ignored. Not one of the impacts that I had listed, which were not necessarily individual, they were affected the whole street, the suburb, and big parts of the LGA of Ashfield. Completely dismissive of the severity of the impacts, completely ignored some of them. The submissions report did not even include my submission in their first round, as many of you may attest to, and certainly Wendy Bacon is across that. It took dozens of emails and phone calls to planning to find out why. Finally, they updated the submissions report. My document finally made it in there. But the ID reference and the cross list of impacts didn't reflect my submission. So come February, we've now got an approval for the M4 East. In the past 2 months, and as you've just heard, the news came through today, demolition starts in Haberfield. This was the extent of consultation for residents of Walker Avenue. An anonymous notice, dear resident, that map, if you can see, I'm happy for people to view, is, although it's green, it is the complete devastation of Haberfield. Turn that brown or black and that's earthworks and roadworks. This document alone is a breach of the conditions of approval. I've already written to the Department of Planning and have done so for the past 2 months on already 18 breaches of the conditions of approval. Same process as before. Dismiss, ignore, proceed. The process is completely unacceptable, as many residents, thousands of residents that have made submissions, thousands of residents that have made phone calls and tried to communicate with SMC will attest to. There needs to be a proper inquiry. There needs to be law reform in addressing and reverting some of those changes to the EP&A Act. Because Part 5 and SSI, and as someone said earlier this morning, if this is the way infrastructure is built in New South Wales, there is no hope. If the government continues to railroad projects like this without relevant consultation, without meaningful consultation, and you've heard before, Health Department, traffic experts. Every possible impact has tried to be raised in the process, and it has been completely ignored. There needs to be a way to bring the government to account, and now more urgently there needs to be a way to bring planning to do their job, to monitor and to enforce the conditions of approval. These are supposed to be the strictest conditions of approval. We're already seeing breaches, and who's policing it? Thank you for your time.